So, have you ever tried to learn a new language only to kind of give up after a week? Yeah, we've all been there. It feels frustrating, super complicated, maybe even impossible. But what if I told you that learning a language is, well, easy, actually? Today, we're going to break down a simple, really effective method that completely flips the script on how you learn.
Okay, let's just dive right in. Before we even get to the right way to do things, we have to talk about the wrong way. And, there's a pretty good chance it's going to sound very, very familiar.
So here it is, the official, certified method to fail. First, you pick a language completely at random, right? Maybe one you saw in a movie. Then you do a single lesson, you feel super accomplished, and then, well, life happens. A week goes by and you start searching for a shortcut, some video made by a guy who swears he learned it in 6 weeks when it really took him 6 years. Sound about right? Yeah, that exact cycle is the #1 reason most of us never get past hello. But listen, breaking that cycle, it's surprisingly simple. If you want to actually truly succeed, the secret isn't some magic app or a hidden technique. Nope. It all starts with one simple question you have to ask yourself. Why are you even doing this? And that brings us right to the most crucial and honestly the most overlooked part of this whole process, the motivation check. This is where you figure out if your goals are the kind that are just going to fizzle out or if they're the kind that will actually carry you all the way to fluency. Just look at the contrast here. The wrong reasons, they're all external. You want to impress people, you want to get views. It makes learning a language feel like a chore. But the right reasons, they're internal and they are powerful. You're learning because you genuinely enjoy it, or because you want to connect with people you really care about, or, for the slightly more intense reason of needing to survive an invasion. The point is, your motivation has to be real. It has to be personal. And this just illustrates that point perfectly. A little bit of social FOMO can be a fantastic motivator. If you're tired of being left out of the joke, that feeling is a much, much stronger driver than just wanting to add a skill to your resume.
So, the key here is to set yourself up for a win. For most of us who speak English, starting with a language like Spanish, French, or Portuguese is just a smart move. They're simply easier to get the hang of, which means you're going to see progress faster. And that progress, that builds enjoyment and momentum. Now, can you start with a harder language like Japanese? For sure. But your why better be rock solid.
All right, so you've checked your motivation, you've picked your language. Now for the easy part, actually learning it. And this all breaks down into a really simple 3-step method you can do entirely on your own. So what is the fastest way to learn a language? I mean, if you Google this right now, you're going to see one answer pop up over and over and over again. Yep, the internet will scream at you. Get a language partner. And look, it works. It's fast. But it also involves scheduling and awkward small talk, and who has time for that? If that's not your style, don't even worry about it. We're going to focus on a method that will get you fluent all by yourself. And here it is. It's not complicated, just 3 logical steps. First, you build the foundation by learning the basics. Then, you train your ear by practicing listening. And finally, you start actually producing the language by practicing speaking. Let's break each one down. Okay, step 1, learn the basics. Now, this seems obvious, but this is where most people go wrong. They try to skip ahead with apps or by watching hundreds of videos about learning the language without ever actually learning a single word of the language. So here's the secret weapon. A beginner textbook. Yes, a book. I know it sounds old-fashioned, but seriously, working through a good textbook with practice exercises for about a month can give you the same progress as 2 years of using Duolingo. It is the most direct and effective way to build that core foundation. So once you finish that book, it is time to practice listening. The goal here isn't to speak just yet. It's to get a feel for what the language is actually supposed to sound like out in the wild. You're tuning your ear. So what's the easiest way to do this? YouTube. Find videos on topics you actually like. Now, if everything sounds like complete gibberish, don't panic. They're probably just talking way too fast, trying to gatekeep their language. The solution is simple. Just add the magic word easy to your search. And make sure to use captions, but, and this is important, only in the language you're learning. And this right here, this is the most important rule of all. I'm going to say it again. Do not turn on the English subtitles. The second you do, your brain just starts reading English and it completely tunes out the foreign language. You think you're learning, but you're not. This one rule will literally make or break your progress. Okay, so you've been listening a lot. You're using captions in the target language, and you've gotten to the point where you can understand about 70% of what you watch. Now, and only now, is it time to unleash step 3. speaking practice. And guess what? You can do this totally solo too. Just pause the videos you're watching and repeat the sentences out loud. Pretend you're actually in the conversation. A great technique is to just record yourself talking to your phone's camera, just describing your day. If you forget a word, no big deal. Just say it in English and look it up later. It's all about low-pressure, effective practice. So you follow this method, you put in the time. What happens next? Well, this is how you bridge that gap from practicing alone in your room to actually using the language in the real world. Okay, look, talking to your phone in an empty room might look a little strange to an outsider. I get it. But this is what it actually looks like. When you hear about someone who's self-taught, this is the focused, deliberate practice they were doing behind the scenes. So you keep reading, you keep listening, and you keep talking to that camera. Does it actually work? I mean, are you fluent now? Yes. Congratulations. If you stick with this method long enough, you can absolutely become fluent without ever having to deal with the pressure of talking to a native speaker before you feel ready. But of course, eventually, you will talk to people. And when you do, there's one final piece to the puzzle. It's not just about knowing the words. You have to understand the culture. Knowing about the local news, politics, and customs, that's what turns textbook knowledge into a real connection with people. So, what happens when you combine that powerful why with a simple how? You stop that endless cycle of failure and you actually start learning. The journey to fluency isn't about magic tricks or some impossible effort. It's about finding your reason, following the steps, and realizing that it really can be, well, easy.